Singer Brian McKnight is breaking his silence and responding to all of the backlash that he's been receiving since people have noticed that he has really moved on despite his 4 other children and has really embraced his stepchildren as his own. He's breaking his silence, and we are digging up an old lawsuit where his daughter sued him basically for defamation because of this ongoing feud that he's had. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your #1 source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So I'm still here in London and I'm having a great time. It is the King Charles coronation and I did a food tour. I'll talk more about this exclusively on our members channel, on the community tab, and of course on our podcast, Kempire Radio. So be sure to follow us there so you can get some tidbits of my experience. A rainy day here in London, and I did a little food tour. I got a little something from, shout out to my family in Ghana. Just saying, look, just saying. So let's get into this Brian McKnight situation. So we've been covering and following this Brian McKnight situation for the last week or so. And to be honest with you, I had no idea how bad this situation between Brian McKnight and his children were. Look, I can only keep up with so much pop culture news. But the more that I dig, the more information we've been getting from this situation. So this all began last week when we reported that Brian McKnight, back in January, posted celebrating his child with his new wife, Leilani. But what stood out to people was what he said in the caption. And the caption is pretty damning and sort of like he was really intentionally trying to take digs at his other kids. He already has a Brian McKnight Jr. And look, for all of you that keep saying, well, George Foreman did this. Yeah, it is very clear, though, there is an estrangement between Brian McKnight and his 4 other children. It all began back in January, and all the comments, well, you know how Twitter is. All of a sudden, something that happened maybe a year ago, a couple of months ago, it gets reignited. Well, since then, a lot of people have noticed that what he said in the caption of this photo really was sort of like a dig at his other kids. Like, my namesake, my legacy, you will bear the fruits of my legacy, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, that led everyone down a rabbit hole of why Brian McKnight is trash. Let's be honest, and I know there are some of you defending, what about his side? We talked about his side. He basically accused his kids of being ungrateful, he cut them off, and all that can be true. But then all of you that have either interacted with Brian McKnight, I told you about my interview experience with Brian McKnight. I thought it went well. He went back to his publicist. He's like, that was horrendous, and that he made it seem as if I came at him like I was the worst person. Like I really was like, aha, and it wasn't that. Come to find out, the publicist was like, when she heard the interview, she was like, no, it's fine. That's a whole other story. I talk more about it in my podcast and previous videos. And then all of you have been commenting on my stories on Twitter about this. Well, yeah, I met Brian McKnight. Some of the stories that you guys have said, I was like, oh. And they range. And then there are also other allegations against Brian McKnight and his relationship with women. I'm going to leave it alone. Because there's so much more to talk about. Because this has grown so much, this story, and everyone's digging up all the old stories, including this lawsuit from his daughter. So one of the stories that we covered in our last video when it comes to Brian McKnight was that his daughter had taken to social media and blasted her father for saying, she said a lot. Go check out that video where she talked about how their relationship has been strained for a very long time, how she's always felt like 3rd, 4th, 5th best in his life. Well, one of the things with Brian McKnight back then, when he went on Instagram to blast his children, he brought up something that happened, or he alleged that his daughter was having some sort of inappropriate relationship with her cousin. He said this on social media. So apparently she decided to sue him. So shout out to our friends over at the Jasmine brand. They write this: Brian McKnight probably won't be winning any parenting awards anytime soon, at least not according to his estranged daughter. According to Radar Online, these documents that they obtained, the lawsuit Brian McKnight's estranged daughter, Brianna McKnight, filed against him has been dismissed. So in 2020, Brianna sued her father for, quote, maliciously defaming her on social media. Brian McKnight was accused of publicly humiliating his daughter by claiming that as a minor, she, quote, engaged in sexual relations with an older cousin. Right? So in the suit, Brianna alleged her estranged father always had animosity towards her. She's a young girl. Even today, she's a very young girl. Reportedly, Brian welcomed Brianna with a woman named Patricia Driver while he was married to then wife Julie. Brian and Julie share 2 sons together, as you know, Nico and Brian McKnight Jr. All right. Sidebar, Brian McKnight Jr. has a son that's Brian McKnight III. So I don't know where Brian McKnight's new son falls in that, the 4th. I'm confused. In his head, there is no other Brian McKnight besides this one. All right. So in 2017, Brian moved on and tied the knot with his current wife, Leilani, who has 2 children from a previous relationship, which sparked a lot of comparisons of some of the captions that Brian has been posting on his social media, really embracing her children, which is a good thing, but not Xing out your other children, calling his stepdaughter the best daughter that he knows in this world. Well, probably stems from this lawsuit, and that's why he's so upset at his family. They remind us that in January, the couple welcomed their son, also named Brian. They said in the suit, Brianna criticized Brian for being there for his stepchildren while ignoring her and her biological brothers. Reportedly in 2018, Brianna attempted to fix the relationship with her father, but he refused to communicate with her. The following year, she revealed aspects of her perceptions of growing up with an unnamed absent father on her Instagram, which is still posted. She said in this post, she says, Daddy's little girl was never really a thing for me. Nobody understands what I've been through except for my siblings. Believe it or not, I'm not always the person I seem to be. I'm not always happy, and most of the time I'm battling my own demons just like everyone else. I grew up thinking that things that happened to me and my dad's relationship was my fault. She says, my father hasn't wished me a happy birthday in years, and yet I sit by the phone every single year hoping that one day his heart will change. She says, I'm so fortunate that I have my 2 brothers who are father figures to me, who celebrate me and love me every single day, that we make up the time that we lost. The anger and the sadness that I hold in my heart every day over this is sickening. So she posted that back in 2019. So according to the lawsuit, in that post, she simply described her feelings as the daughter of an unnamed father who had been withdrawn from her. She didn't even post pictures of him in this post. Okay? So they said, however, despite not directly naming her dad in the IG post, Brian still seemingly responded to what she wrote, as you know, saying Brianna was a promiscuous and incestuous minor, and thereby he hoped undermining Brianna's credibility regarding a post that she did not even identify him. He then said in this IG post, he says, and unfortunately, along the way, a couple of years ago, I caught wind that there was an older cousin who was above 18 who was quite possibly having sex with her. You see, but you hear the word, he didn't know this for a fact, yet he's saying this on social media as to discredit his daughter, who did not even name him, even though people know who she was talking about. But why do you, that tells me more about you, Brian, than it does about Brianna. Because that's where you would go in order to justify you not being a father to her, because she's having a relationship allegedly with her cousin. Just make it make sense. He also alleged to have called the state office for children's affairs there in Arizona, but said he never heard anything back. Probably because there was no legitimate information. There was no evidence, probably. So Brianna's lawsuit denied her father's public accusations. Brianna has never engaged in any sexual contact of any kind with any relative of any age, while a minor or otherwise. Further, she said that she doesn't believe anyone ever told Brian the claim. Sidebar, and even if this was true, she would have been the minor. She would have been the victim. So what was Brian's point in bringing this up? Because Brian, if we dig up and talk about the allegations against you, we understand why you would attack the victim. I'll leave that alone. However, in February, Brianna and her dad agreed to dismiss the lawsuit before trial. First of all, defamation is hard to prove. Brian probably didn't want to deal with the legal situation and the financial part of this. Is why a lot of times people settle these things. It's not necessarily because they feel like as if they're guilty. It's just financially it makes more sense to settle it instead of a long drawn out legal situation that might unearth more family drama and more family secrets. So that's possibly why Brian is doing what he's doing. So Brian is now responding on his social media with his alleged proof that he is a good father and that everything that's coming out right now is 100% false. And everyone in the comments, not these comments, other comments, because he's limited his comments on his Instagram because you guys are dragging him for filth since this has been re-earthed. Okay, so on his Instagram, Brian posted a couple of Instagram photos of him with his kids and like his biological kids and stepkids. And he just posted in the caption. He posted a short caption in comparison to all his sonnets to his stepchildren. He says, "Not sure how these posts that have been sitting here this whole time were left out of the false narrative that is trending. Abandonment? Question mark. There's always more to every story. Stay tuned." So is Brian going to do an interview? Is he going to go on Instagram again and bring up someone else's victimization? Or maybe he'll do an interview where he will later claim to his publicist that person did a terrible interview, it didn't work out. I'm just saying. So he posts these photos that date back to, oh my goodness, how many years ago? So he posted one photo where it's him and his two sons and his wife and her stepkids saying, "Spending my birthday with the 5 people I love the most in the world." Mind you, Brianna's not in this picture. Again, like certain things you just don't say in a caption, especially when you have other children. All right. "Spending my birthday with the 5 people I love the most in the world. My family. Thank you, baby, for making this day the best it can be." Then in another photo, it's another picture with him and I believe one of his kids. I don't know which kid this is. You guys will let me know in the comment section. But he says, "Leilani got everyone together for my early birthday dinner. Baby, you truly are the most one." Mind you, he thinks that this is proof. Yet in these posts, first of all, they're very old posts. These posts, they stem back for a while ago. And I bet maybe this is his grandbaby. But all of the posts is in commemoration to his new wife and his new family. Leilani, pay attention. I keep telling you every video I do on this, the way he's treating his biological children, and you already know, I'm not one to say you need to be loyal to the family if the family is toxic. But I think Brian McKnight is the toxic one, allegedly. Then in another post from 390 weeks ago, how many, guys, can y'all do the math? There's 52 weeks in a year. What's 390 weeks ago? He posts all these, he posts a picture of his son, Brian McKnight Jr., about to blow out the candle on a birthday cake. And he's highlighting all of the captions of what he says in this. And I'm thinking, and this was Leilani who posted one. Brian also posted something saying, "Thank you so much." Like, he really believes that this is proof. Brian, this just proves what we've been saying. You don't have any proof. You don't have any proof. He posts all of this stuff that doesn't. Sir, 390 weeks ago? It's not hitting the way you think that it's hitting. And the only people that can comment on it probably are people that he's good friends with. There's only 2 comments on this post because his comments are limited. Again, he says, "Not sure how these posts that have been sitting here this whole time were left out of the false narrative that is trending. Abandonment? There's always more to every story. Stay tuned." Can we get an updated picture of you and your kids from maybe Even if it was like a year ago, I could understand. But we know that this estrangement started back in 2019, 2020, and even got worse in 2021 when Brian McKnight Jr. posted on social media about this situation and saying that his father is not who you think he is. Because there was a sector of people back then that were riding with Brian McKnight because they love his song. They love his song. And they think they know him based off of his career. And I think the reason that Brian's even reacting to this story right now, because it is affecting his career. A lot of you in the comment section said, oh my God, this is disgusting. I cannot listen to his music. And some of the music, a lot of people were asking me, oh, did this inspire, or did your first wife inspire this? And he was like, no. So a lot of people are saying that they don't want to support his music. And look, at the end of the day, you can support whoever you want. And at the end of the day, some people keep saying that they don't listen to R. Kelly music, and they still do, because those R. Kelly sales still are doing okay. He's still making money off of that music. At the end of the day, you have the freedom to do so. However, I do believe that this has built a lot of momentum in the last week or so, almost 2 weeks, that it might affect his touring. If people are not going to show up for a Brian McKnight situation, it is going to affect his touring. And that is where he makes the bulk of his money. Yes, songwriting royalties are decent. However, the bulk of Brian McKnight's money is made from touring. And if you do not want to go see him, that's going to affect his bottom line and the lifestyle that he's afforded for himself and for the future of his lineage, including Lilani's children. Guys, as always, I want to know your thoughts on this. I didn't think during my little London town vacation that we would still be getting more information. But look, there's all kinds of other stories that come out. But when I feel like, oh, we've gotten a response from Brian, we have to talk about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And be sure to like the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.
You bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll ask you. Follow my lead.